Hello everyone. We're back to the public scene after doing a secret event last week. This week is the 80th. Oh, hold on, give me 1 second because I can hear myself. All right. I need technical support. Why am I hearing myself? Okay, no, okay, back to normal. So, let me go back to my screen. Technical difficulty. Okay. Yeah, so this week is the 85th week. For those of you who are new, React Knowledgeable is a podium where we share things we find interesting as a React developer. And if you are from Shopee, please proudly be part of this by default. And even if you aren't at Shopee, note that you can find us fairly consistently in the last working hour of every Friday. And we'll be posting our events on our YouTube channel as well as our Twitter as well. Also shouting outs to Engineer SG for the general support on recording and live streaming. As we settle in now, you can take this chance to say hello to each other in the live chat. Please be courteous and be chill. As we all know, this podium is running on proposal, no hard sell. So if you want to give a sharing, please poke us. And gratefully, we've been on for 85 weeks straight without a break. This stash has been going low, but slowly getting slower and slower. It has already been beyond our expectations that we can't express how grateful we are to all the amazing engineers who have shared their minds with us here. Although in this current situation, it's a bit hard and everybody quite busy with campaign, so I think now it's a good time for us to take a break to look back and look forward to see what we want to do next. So next week we'll do a game that we quite like over the holiday season at the end of last year. So please join. You can find the instructions in our channel on how to join the game. And at the meantime, we'll try to decide what to do in the future. So if you have ideas or suggestions or proposals, please find us and we can work on this together. Okay. Next, upcoming in the tech community, there is Junior Dev SG online hangout next Monday. You can find the instructions here, or you can find Junior Dev SG's meetup group. And next Wednesday, we have Talk.js. It is also going to be online, so you can check out their GitHub repo for instructions on how to join. And then our best friend meetup Singapore CSS happening Wednesday in 2 weeks, I believe. We're also looking for speakers, so yeah, if you have something interesting about CSS, please learn CSS and share with us what you have learned about it. Okay. Right, and also if yeah, for other events happening in Singapore, please check out Engineers SG. They have a calendar that lists out all the events that you can find here. So for today's sharing, we'll have Jiawei. Jiawei has previously spoken to us multiple times. She's shared with us about going green, about Chrome Dev tools, and also about learning in public. And this week, Jiawei will be sharing with us about history blocking. History blocking is something around single page ads that maybe not many of us have thought about. But there are caveats, there are interesting things around that over the past couple of weeks that we have been working on this talk. And also during our dry run, we also realized that for RN developers, the situations can be quite peculiar. We realize we are facing different interactions, but the problem we are talking about, it might be interesting to anybody here who is an RN developer as well. So during the sharing, we'll also evoke a casual chat with our with React Knowledgeable's dedicated RN voice. You know who that is. So without further ado, let's welcome Jiawei now. Jiawei, please. I think you might need to unmute yourself and start sharing your screen, please.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, can. Okay, cool. Please.
Hey, hello everybody. I am Jiawei. Okay, so maybe just a quick background as to how I stumbled on this like super specific title talk. So a few months back, I was doing I was helping out with the internal portal, and this is one of the problems that we stumbled on. So one of our requirements was for the page containing forms to have this pop-up that will inform users that they are leaving the page. So the pop-up will allow users to choose whether they want to leave or stay on the page. And this is implemented in our older internal portals, which was done with the traditional web page.
Sorry, can I interrupt for a bit? Are you sharing something on your screen? Because I think we can only see your slide.
Yeah. So can you see this?
Oh yes, now can see.
Yeah.
So previously you were just talking. You're not sharing anything, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Please.
So for those who, I would like to clarify what is this like traditional web page. So a traditional web page is kind of very similar to your normal web page, except it is it uses a page. So for every HTML, every page, it actually sends the resource again and again. So unlike your single, so here's how the page looks like. So maybe I'll show you the source for this, just the HTML. So you see this HTML page with just the content and then the JavaScript. And then if you go to the next page, you would see a new page with the HTML content and the JavaScript. And when I say that the resource are sent again and again, that means every page is a new resource. So it's a new document. So as compared to a single page application, which is what we are building for our internal portal. This value is right. Oh, okay, it's 2. So if you look at our single page application, look at the network tab, as you go from page to page, it doesn't fetch a new resource. It's actually using the same document. And if you were to exit the single page application, for example, I were to go to another URL, then you would see the resource being fetched for that other page. Yeah. So is that clear? Is it clear as to what is our traditional web page and our single page application? Okay.
Let's check with Ken. Ken, is this clear to you?
Yep, very clear.
Oh, okay.
So because the traditional web page had So because the traditional web page had this behavior, this is the behavior that we wanted. We wanted to have that behavior in our single page application as well. And given that the traditional web pages already have this behavior, we thought that it was kind of obvious that a single page application, which was like the more superior web page, would definitely support this behavior. However, actually, that's not true. So our single page application uses Reach Router. Reach Router is built, yeah, you can look at this. It's kind of like stem out from React Router, and they don't support this feature. So they coined this feature history blocking. So here you see that no history blocking, and there's no use case, and like we just don't support it, and they call you to use the session storage. So it's not acceptable for our use case. We have to have this history blocking. So I did some digging as to find out like why did you say that? Why do they not support history blocking? Or it's like, how can I implement history blocking? And then after digging about, I stumbled on this React router repository issue, which is kind of stating like it's kind of like a declaration that history blocking never worked. So they gave the reasons, the solution, and then there was a lot of like back and forth about, we need this feature, you cannot take this feature away. And then this person was like, yeah, it's not working and we don't know how to make it work, so it's better we remove it. So is it really like not possible to have history blocking on a single page application? So some of the reasons he gave here was like, there is no way to prevent the user from changing the URL. So maybe I will explain this. So when I read this, I didn't really understand why. Like after reading this, I still didn't understand why. So I will explain this I'll explain this. Okay, so what happens is that when you were to navigate to another page, the browser keeps track of your location, your browser location. So that browser location, they term it as browser sessions. So like each page you navigate to, regardless whether it's a traditional web page or a single page application, they would keep track, they would add a new session into the browser session. So this browser session is what allows you this back features and forward features on the browser. So this this history blocking thing that they implemented couldn't stop this from happening. They couldn't stop this back buttons from, like, if you click on a back button, they couldn't pop out the dialog. Or like if you refresh, they don't know where you have been. And there's a huge reason for that because of browser security. The browser actually doesn't have an API that shows you the array of location that the user has visited. And this is for security purposes. Like you wouldn't want a website to know where you have been, right? They can like go into see that you have just went to your bank account and all that. So because of that, there was the argument was kind of like, we have no way to track their location, and hence we cannot support this history blocking on the scale that their traditional web page can do. So the scale in the sense like they have for this current issue, they actually cannot support it when you reload their page. And then when you click the back button, they also cannot support the pop-up from coming out. So maybe I'll get into a few terms because I think this can be very misleading as to like what's going on and all that. Yeah, it's actually quite hard if you don't understand these fundamentals. I would say fundamentals. So I'll just explain as to like clearly why this couldn't happen here. So I should clarify first of all what is the difference in routing for traditional routing and our single page application routing. So for traditional routing, your URL is kind of tied to a single page. Like just now as you saw in the demo, the URL, it has its own resources. So the routing is actually handled on the server side. And when the pop-up appears, it's actually triggered by this before unload event. Like as you navigate away from the page, be it like you close the tab, you press the back button, this pop-up unload event will be fired, and this unload event is cancelable. So this is the unload event page, and I should explain what is cancelable. Okay, so this is cancelable. like clicking on the cancel means that it's cancelable. And so leave means that you want to continue, and you can actually trigger it on your code from with the, so it's actually, yeah. So it is actually this prevent default, event.prevent default. I think many of us have been typing this down without actually knowing what it does. But yeah, this actually cancel the default, which is to like navigate away. So cancels the event actually. So this is what it means by cancelable. And try to keep this in mind because later I would talk about something that is not cancelable. Yeah, so that is kind of the gist for traditional routing. But then for single page routing, the single page application actually handles the routing by itself. So when you navigate to a single page application with a location, for example, like a /page1, the single page application will run, then its JavaScript will read the route, and then it would load their page, like whatever JavaScript content, build it, and then output it to the DOM based on the routing that it runs in its own page JavaScript. So in a sense, every time it matches a route, it has to kind of like do this re-rendering, like what is this change, and then I restructure the DOM to present this changes. So in essence, actually, the URL and the document is independent of each other. So you can have multiple URLs, but you're still using the same document. And let me show you an example of what that means. So yeah, I have it here. Yeah, no, yes. Okay, this is really messy. I'm sorry. But yeah, so actually, I actually implement this single page application with just two routes, page 1 and page 2. And then every time it sees a new route, it would just re-render this create page again. So that's what I meant. That's why you don't see the new resources being fetched. It's really just within the DOM. So how is this routing in the single page application done actually? Like, why is there this like gap from traditional to single page application? So it actually came about with the history API. The history API is this. And what it does is it allows us to reuse active documents. So that means you can stay on the page and it allows you to update the URL and then add this location into the browser history session for you. So when I navigate to page 2, it's actually recorded in my session, my history session. Yeah. So you can also store your state with the URL location. And it has some APIs that allows you to traverse the browser history session. So one of them is the go. And then your backwards and forward button here is also in one of the APIs. Yeah, back and forward. But the history API is not like an be all and all, okay? So there is some limitations with it. The first thing is you cannot manipulate the history object. It is a browser API, and it is a history object that was created by the browser every time you create a new tab or a page. Tab, not page, tab. So you cannot actually like manipulate the object. And you also cannot read the previous locations. I think I explained that just now for security reasons. So like, okay, now we can navigate and everything. Like, how does a single page application do it? And a page, what's it called again? Before unload event. Yeah, it also has the same before unload event as your traditional web page. So when you try to leave the single page application, then the before unload event will trigger. But if you were to navigate within the single page application, it doesn't, if you want to use this history blocking, you have to use the pop state event. So this is the pop state event. And the pop state event is, where is it? Here. Yes. This is the one that I told you about the cancelable. It's not cancelable. So the pop state event is unique in a sense that it is only fired when the user navigates between two history entries for the same document. I think this is kind of like defining that this pop state event only fires if you use the history API to navigate within the same document. And this pop state event is not cancelable. So just now I just canceled it, but it didn't actually cancel. So I will tell you why later. I know this can be confusing, but just know that the navigation occurred. And the event is not cancelable. So this cannot be canceled. At least according to the specs, it cannot be canceled. And this whole talk is kind of like, in case you're still not sure what do this like not canceling in the single page application. Yeah, so the event is not cancelable. That means like when you press a back on your single page application, okay, maybe I'll just navigate away first since I messed up. When you click a back, it will occur. Like whenever you click a back button or forward button or like your browser navigation, it will occur. This pop state event will occur. So the URL location, there is actually a series of stuff that occurs after you click you change your URL. So a summary of this long list is actually the URL location changes before the pop state event is sent. So the pop state event also has a event listener like your before unload event. But then when you listen to the location in the event, it is actually at the new location. So this is important. I'm so sorry for like this very small important bits, but it's quite hard to explain. So yeah, so I'm so sorry about that. But please remember that the URL location in the pop state event handler is already at the new location. That means, let's say I'm in page 1, okay, now I'm in page 2. Then when I press back, the pop state event actually sees page 1 instead of page 2. So because it's not cancelable, so the location will change first. And something to note is also that it doesn't tell us whether you click the back button or the forward button. It's kind of like, I know this event happened, and that's it. It doesn't tell you like which page within their single page application you are traversing to. So because of this, the history blocking strategy that React Router did was the following. So, oh gosh. So I'll try to explain this. So first of all, the history blocking for clicking a link is quite non-trivial in a sense that you can actually tie your event listener to a link, and then you click on this link, you stop people from leaving the page. So this is history blocking on a link is non-trivial. So this strategy is not about that. This strategy is about when you click on a browser action. That is difficult because pop state event is not cancelable. So what React Router history package did was, on the page load, they instantiate an array, and then they use this array to track their history location as you navigate within their single page application. So when you click a pop state, when you click the back button of a history blocking page, the pop state then occurs. Then the URL would change. And then we will get the new URL state, the new location, and then we will give it their like maybe index +1. And because this page that we want to stop users from leaving has already, okay, so there's the page that we want to stop the users from leaving, and then there is the page that they just navigated out of, like maybe with the back button. So I term the redirected page as the page that they just navigated out, and then they shouldn't be on that page. So what React Router did is they navigate back to the page that the user should be by quickly sending this command, this like go current page index minus redirected page index. So in a sense, like I said, the pop state cannot be canceled. They pop you back. Yeah, they pop you back. And so when you see this pop up, this pop up, you actually navigate it away, but they navigate you back. So you are seeing the illusion of you haven't navigated away, but actually you have already navigated away. So they already pop you back, and now you are actually on the page. Yeah. So this navigation here is the same as the go to page navigation here, the non-trivial navigation. So at this point, it can be very confusing. So I will show you the console. Okay. Gawe, for this part, I think can be very confusing. So if you need something, if you need to explain, let me know. So, okay. So this is their single page application, and their page just instantiated. So their location is as such. And then when I go to the next page, the location changes. No biggie, right? Then I add the history blocking. If I were to go through page 1, it is blocked because I add the blocking at the event listener. So this is non-trivial. So non-trivial, okay? So let's say if I were to go to page 2 again, I add the history blocking, but then I use the back button. So this is the one that the pop state event, and in the strategy as I just explained, what happened was it actually popped, and then it actually navigates back to the page immediately after you pop. So it immediately navigated back, and then you see the pop-up. So that is the strategy.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, let's pause here a little bit because I think this is new to me as well. What was can you show the pop-up again?
Oh, sorry, not this one. Yeah. Is it still very confusing?
Oh, the pop-up. Okay, actually, we're not talking about pop-up. We're talking about the pop event, right?
Yes, the pop event.
Okay, so let me check my understanding. So here it is a single page app. Therefore, there's no traditional navigation involved here. We have always been on one single document. Everything is rendered by JavaScript. So the navigation is just JavaScript rendering different things.
Yes.
But then we have the browser forward and go back functionality implemented with the pop state.
Yes.
Right? And then previously you clarified that pop state is not cancelable, which means once the user hit go back, we are guaranteed to go back to the first page.
Yes.
Right? But then we're seeing here that after we hit go back on page 2, we're still staying on page 2. And why is that so? It's because this is implemented in such a way that we go back pop state to the previous state, and then we're immediately back. Right?
Yes. So when you go to the new URL, they immediately pop you back to your current URL.
So who implemented this?
React Router. History package.
Oh, yeah, the history package.
Yes, yeah.
I see. So is there a chance for us to insert some kind of alert here, like or confirmation dialog here to replicate the similar like UI that asks you to confirm whether you want to go back.
Alert is in when do you want it to happen?
Yeah, like in the traditional browsing, when you hit back, there will be a pop-up asking you to confirm whether you want to go back or not, right?
That, okay.
So here, is there a chance for us to do this?
I think not. Yeah, I don't think so. Because there, let me see if, okay.
Right, actually, okay, so
you can see the source code? No.
Yeah, no.
Oh, you can?
No, cannot.
Okay. Okay, so, because I only share that screen.
I think you can stop sharing and share again. Oh, yes, can see the source code from the sources now. Yeah.
Horrible source code. Okay, so let me check handle pop. So this is actually where the pop-up is handled. Maybe. Yeah. So this is React Router's history package code. So if you look at here, there is no like window alert or something like that. Yeah. So in regards to that, I don't think it's possible to have the window dot confirm. But I think you hold on. You probably can use it. I guess you can try, but I'm not very sure about that. Yeah.
Might need to try this out at another time because but then actually with your explanation just now and I think probably because once you hit back, you're already on page one. So even if like we want to insert some kind of confirmation, it will already happen on page one, not on page two. So with this blocking, maybe what they can do is it already has a round trip back, and then it asks you, do you want to?
Oh, so yeah, so that's the part I should also clarify. So because they're in the event, in the pop state event, your location would be the new location, but this how React Router what React Router has to calculate this location is the array, right? The array to store the location. So you can actually show like you are leaving for this page or what. Like you can show the right location because you have React Router has stored. Yeah. So yeah, so maybe like let me just refresh the page because I don't know where.
No.
Okay, so let's say if I add history blocking in. So okay, this is non-trivial. I forgot. Okay,
I guess maybe here is an alternative explanation from our audience. So Yijing just mentioned like to block navigation in single page app, ensure the history length is the same. If it is different, force history.go to go back to the correct one. Is that how it is implemented based on your knowledge?
That is if you just click like one back button, but for the back button you can actually navigate to multiple. So in essence, yeah, that's kind of like the simplified form, but do keep note that you can go to different states.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, please carry on.
Okay. So I understand part. This is very important. Okay. So like, is it possible to do history blocking? Because it states here that it's not possible. And actually there is a, like after I explain all this, I can now tell you that when this issue came out, it was not possible, but now it's possible. So why? So let's go back. So to do this history blocking, the whole thing actually is not about this strategy. Yeah, as cool as this sounds, this is not, this is just a part of it. The whole thing actually relies on instantiating this array. So this location array is what allows you to calculate which page to navigate back to. So when you want to instantiate that array, the issue is that if you instantiate it as a within your application, you refresh your page, what happens? It's gone. It's when you refresh your page, it's the same as navigating to a new location, like you're actually navigating to a new document. And to make it even clearer, it's kind of like using location. So this actually begs the question, like, okay, so what's the difference between location and history API now? Like you can navigate with location API too, right? Location API navigates by going straight to the creating a new document. Yes. So when you navigate with location, you are actually creating a new document. But when you navigate within your single page application with history, you are not creating a new document. You're still using the same document. So in a sense, like navigating with, what was I talking about? Instantiating the array. Yes. So when you instantiate the array on your single page application, every time you refresh it, then it's like reinstantiated, right? And if you were to use a location API within your single page application, that is also gone. As long as your array is created within your application, as long as you write the code array in your application, it cannot survive when the document is refreshed. So this was the issue that the React routers were faced. And yeah, this is actually the crux. And because their event is not cancelable, so it's kind of like you really need this location. You need this location to store. You need this I won't say location. You need the know where you came from. So remember, the history API doesn't tell you about your previous location. So you kind of need the array to store where you have been within the single page application. Yeah, they also have a state API. And actually, how they solved it is by using the history state as the array. So the history state is tied to a URL. And then as you navigate to each location, URL changes, then you will get a new history state. So can you imagine that as an array now? Yeah, so that is essentially an in-browser memory array that you did not instantiate on your app. So I was like, before we get so happy, can we test this, like whether it solves the refresh issue or the browser action? Okay. So this page is a single page application with browser history blocking for all pages. And let's see whether it survives refresh. So if I go to 1, go to 2, I refresh, then I press back. Yeah, it survives. So this is the in-browser using the state from history array. No, history API, yes. So it survives the refresh issue, it survives the browser issue. So the next question is, does it survive the location href issue? Because I know some of us actually still navigate within our single page application with the location href. Okay, so the location href is kind of like a URL navigation in a sense, like as you create So I will just give an example of when you are using the history API. This is the state of the history API that I printed out. And oh, I should say that earlier. Okay. And you see this index and key, and this is the history location length. So this is the index as we kind of like increment the index as we navigate in a single page application. But when we use the location href, which is essentially like a URL navigation, it is a new document, so your state is clear. So as I navigate with location href, you would always see an index 0. Yeah. So as to whether I can use the location href to kind of keep this history blocking issue. Okay, so now what I'm trying to say is, let's say you have a single page application, you want history blocking, but you also see people using the location href, be it developers or your users actually changing the URL within your single page application. That's not something you can control, right? So to check whether the history blocking works, history check, this is the single page application. So you can see that, I'm not sure if you saw this red flash here. I will talk about that later. But, so it works, but in a sense, not all the time. And if like you would think about it, this is kind of like using your location href intermittently. I would say that it works if you use it intermittently. It works most of the time. Like, yeah, it works most of the time. But if you were to navigate completely with location href, like you build a single page application just because you want to use the framework, and then you navigate with like, I don't know why you want to navigate with href. Yeah, so let's say you navigate with href all the time, then you can face this. Remember that red color error?
Can we pause here a little bit, because I'm a bit lost.
Okay.
When you said it works sometimes, what works? Because I'm not seeing the history blocking confirmation dialog showing up, because I was expecting that to mean, I expect that is what you mean to be working. Maybe so what is working and what is not working here? Okay. So let's say we navigate with history blocking for with the history push API. Yeah. So we navigate. So now I'm just building up the browser stack, browser history session. And then now I'm going to like put some location href navigation within. Okay, I'm seeing the dialog popping up. Is that desired? The confirmation dialog. Is that what we're trying to see? Yeah. So so you mean like it should appear like this? Yeah. So when you navigate with location href, this before page unload dialog should pop up. So you're not actually using the pop state dialog. You're using the before unload page dialog. Right. Because you're creating a new document. Right. Yeah. Sorry, I missed that point. Yeah. So in a sense, when you navigate with location href, you are kind of relying on page before unload event to trigger. Yeah, so when you use it intermittently, it's fine. But when you use it all the time, I can show you now. Let's say I'm now navigating with URL only, and you don't see the dialog popping up. And it's like that because there's this error here. It's an error or warning. Okay, regardless, this is the reason why. So the before unload dialog actually doesn't pop up all the time. It is actually in the specs that it should pop up. In the specs, it advises user agent to only show the dialog if there is a user change. So in a sense,
Chrome has summarized this very nicely, and I shall read it. Only show the dialog if there is a user gesture or user interaction. If there is no change, then don't show it. It's annoying. Yeah. So if you were to completely navigate your single page application with location href, you cannot rely on before unload to always pop up. And sometimes it doesn't pop up, so you don't get your history blocking. Does that clarify things? No? No?
Yeah, I have a question. So for this unload event, it is a browser's implementation, right?
Yeah. The event is from the browser API.
Okay, so does it differ for different browsers? Like what you said in the platforms in the just now that website, you're saying that the Chrome has this behavior where there is no events or no actions, user actions, it wouldn't pop up that thing, the event.
I think it would differ from browser to browser because this is a specification, so they may implement it differently, as in they may choose to follow or not.
Oh, okay.
Any more questions before I end it? Okay, so I'll just end my presentation here. Last page, yes. Okay, so whether does history blocking work on a single page application? Yes, unless you navigate within the single page application with the history libraries push instead of calling the browser history API directly. So this is because of the location, the location array. So I would assume that the history library would have already helped you abstract this location storing part. That's why if you were to navigate with the history API directly, you probably cannot get your state push into the push to the location that they are trying to track. So yeah, use their API and then try not to use location href. I think you can allow your users to navigate with location href, but within the app, I don't think they will use it that frequently. But if you are a developer, don't navigate with location href within a single page application. And also lastly, single page application routing, everything stems from the history API. So the browser must support history API. So yeah, that's it. In the event you are confused at any point, you can read this blog. I wrote this as I'm coming up with this presentation because this was so confusing for me as well. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, thanks for your sharing. As we wait for we can wait a bit for more questions. And I think I can add on a little bit to this sharing. Is that because I kind of take over what Jiawei left off on this particular topic, and the behavior that later on we implemented, which is also confirmed by our designer and product managers, is that we implement an in-app navigation button that we kind of guide the user to click instead of the browser navigate back button. And since that will actually be a button that we implement within the single page app, we have full control over the behavior of going back that way. And then, so that's kind of like a workaround. But then still the going back with the browser navigation button is still a legit user interaction that we desire at some point, especially if we are filling out a form that's quite complex, which is actually the use case that we're looking at. That behavior is actually helpful. So I'm actually wondering, will there be any like browser support from specs perspective to implement a same cancelable event for the pop state? I mean, implement the same behavior with the history?
I
mean, the
I
traditional.
don't see any. I don't see any, but I hope they do though. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, it is a bit. Yeah, can we chat with Ken about this as well? So do you have a similar problem on RN?
Oh, hi. I don't think RN has such a thing because, okay, so your mileage may vary depending on how you actually implement your routing on RN. So for Shopee, we actually do it in the sense of each different page is a different tab. So if you can think of it as a tab on your Chrome browser or your website's browser, whenever you close a tab, it does not destroy the things before it. And because it's coded as a tab, we have control of whether you can close the tab or not because it's implemented by us. So we do have a back button, but the back button is there because we put it there.
It's very much like the back button that we implement within our single page app.
Yes, exactly. So you can imagine on RN, you can make it such that the browser's back buttons, control buttons are not there or non-responsive. So on the iOS, you can slide from your left to the right, from the edge of the screen to a back button, right? But the thing is, we can actually let the OS know that our app does not support that gesture. So there goes your back button.
Okay. So actually, so that means you do have full control over navigation in this case because you can block the swipe left behavior from at system level, right?
Yes, correct.
Then after you block it, can you then re-implement the swipe behavior within the app, and then you can
Yes. So for our case, at least for Shopee, we actually do prevent the swipe at the page level. So when you're on a certain page, you can specify whether this page is swipeable or not.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I just changed the swipe gesture. Now I'm changing back.
Further question from Henrik. So Android has a back button on the device. Can you block that as well?
Yes, we can.
Oh wow, powerful RN developers.
Okay.
Wow, nice. Any other questions from the audience before we end this event? Right. Before anyway, as we wait, let me advertise the event next week again. So we're doing a game called Two People Are Lying. Yeah, Two People Are Lying. So the game basically we'll have a group of people, and then we'll have one obscure term that the group of people are talking about. But one of the participants will be the actual one who know what the term is. Everybody else don't know. But then the people who don't know will have to we'll have to pretend that they know the term, such that the audience cannot detect that who is the actual person who know about the term. So for that to happen, we would like to know from every one of us here if you know of any interesting terms that you can bring into this game. It can be web or React related. It doesn't have to. You can think of terms that you in your hobby or in your reading or in other aspects of your life, and then you can join this game. It's kind of fun. We have a few players who are already quite experienced. They will share with you some tips, how they manage to pretend that they know the term. You can ask in the channel. Then it's kind of fun because in a way it's very spontaneous. That everybody is kind of discussing with each other on the spot, and we need to come up with things to say. So yeah, it's kind of fun. I'm kind of looking forward to it. And we also need more volunteers to participate. And Ken will be the game master. and has been the game master of all the arcade games we've been playing. So yeah, do speak to us about joining. And then I think, let me check with the, okay, I think we have no more questions from the live chat anymore. So thank you all for joining this week, and thank Jiawei for the sharing. And please have a nice Friday night and have a great weekend. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.